We'll always want the unrealistic, idolized things because that's the entire appeal of them. They are, in essence, the most desirable objects, despite the fact they're inachievable. Like the livelihoods of um, absolute freedom and liberty, emancipation from all your woes and whatever may be stressing you. Like, yes, we can um, limit our stresses and we can, live a better life than we are now. What we're exactly striving for in these sort of specifics is inachievable. We can't 1,000% kill everything that is demeaning us as we live, though we can, chance it for better. We can't kill the absolute, yet we'll always want to because the best option is also always the most worthwhile and desirable. It's always the most appealing. It's what looks prettiest. It's what looks best to have, because who wouldn't want to be ultimately happy and absolutely without every fault? Who would rather forms of pain than forms of pleasure? It makes sense to want, yet it also makes sense why wanting such a thing is, one, unrealistic, and two, a damaging way to live, because when you constantly are dedicating everything to the gaining of the ungainable, you're throwing away your resources and you'll only end up further away from where you began, with less and with a decreased sense of motivation, because when nothing succeeds, you're less likely to believe that anything will succeed. There's these lifestyles, there's these objects, these material things, these concepts, these viewpoints that people want and that people think they can have, but they are just way too rose tinted and too golden and too higher than actual human opportunity. But we still want them and we still work for them, which pushes us further and further and further down. And you think, as the most evolved species out there, as we claim to be, we'd almost be sort of enabled to recognize what is, completely without removed from our grasp, but we're too ambitious and we're too ignorant. We just hope, and we think hope is enough for gaining it, because we can't work enough to gain it because it's unachievable. Yet we think that if we hope enough, we'll just get it, which doesn't work, which it just doesn't compute. That's not the structure of things, yet we sort of consider it that way, which again further damages our view of chance and view of potential, because we're taking actuality and pushing it into the most far removed potential, which is, a chasm uncrossable. It's these things we praise and we worship and we act like we need, but because we can never have them, they can't be necessary or essential. They're too idealized, they're too picture perfect, and having perfection will only be a detriment. You can't learn from perfection. You can't gain from perfection. You can't grow from perfection. You become stagnant and stuck because there's nothing more to it and there's nothing of value to it, because to be perfect is to be ridded of all value, is to be ridded of all substance, because there's nothing actually concrete within it other than the ideal. So we really are backwards in our dreams and our hopes and our aims and our earnings, because what we want, one, we can't have, and two, won't aid us, yet we still want it and we will never stop wanting it, because of the very, basic structure of that thing is almost addictive. It's encompassing, it's dragging, it digs its claws into you, pulls you in and doesn't let go, and that's unchangeable, and it's scary and it's workable, but it's never something you can eliminate. You will always be stuck with this. You just need to be aware of it and to think in those moments how and why and when to step back away from these false potentials, basically.